All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. That is, peace be upon you in our faith. If you translate it literally, that is from Arabic, and I really do mean it. Peace be upon you, brothers, sisters. So this series that I'm hoping to start is a kind of passionate project I've been working on and developing for a while now, and it's called Seeking the Truth. So why I came up with this title is also, it's an interesting story that is very closely attached to my entire life, and I felt like it's high time that I really started talking about this. So let me just get right to it. Okay, there is a concept, or rather there is a chapter. If you look at the Holy Quran, chapter number 103, called Al-Asr, literally translated to the time. And as you can see here, let me just read out the translation. It says there are 3 verses in this chapter. So verse number 1 is by the time. It says, surely man is in loss. And the third one, except those who believe and do good and exhort one another to truth and exhort one another to patience. So this chapter is very, very close to my heart, and I always think about this concept of why would the Quran and why would literally why would God ask us to exhort one another to truth, and what exactly is the truth. And when I really think about how I've lived my life, it's been going from one lie to another. You live life in a way that that is very much a sense of what others tell you to do. So you do that, right? And in that sense, you're being told to do this, and then you're being told to do this, and then you're being told that this is important and that is important. So you move up in life, which places based on what other people want from you, or say to you, or expect from you, or tell you to do. So all these things are very very difficult, don't you think? And I've really struggled with that. So 3 decades on earth, here I am taking a very bold step, and this marks the beginning of my attempt to exhort one another to truth. And I don't think it's going to be easy. That's why I kind of call this project a bold one, and one could call it a stupid one, but sure, aren't most interesting things stupid? So there is a particular disclaimer before I really start. This is probably the first episode of many, which I'm hoping, but I want to start with a disclaimer of this presentation of my case for the truth to humanity. It's an attempt to really just offer a balanced opinion of straightforward, right? An opinion of straightforward in nature, and I hope to explore this concept of what straightforward in nature means down the line. And obviously, one thing that I cannot disregard is that it is based on my faith, my upbringing, and my experience. So everything that I will probably be discussing throughout, right, hopefully, inshallah, if it continues, is going to be based on these 3 things, right? It's because I'm going to base the truth I'm seeking on how I was raised, how my life experiences have been. So I'll probably be referencing a lot to my life and various incidents I've gone through, and my faith. Basically, there's a lot of knowledge and wisdom and learnings and directions and guidance that comes from there. So it's going to be a mix of all that. And the idea is that the series, so if you know my YouTube channel, all the content out there, whatever it is, right, about 100 videos by now, is very particularly targeted to a group, right? They'll either it's SEMA or ACCA, or there's a target audience always. Either the personal development series for students and for orators, upcoming orators, etc. And specifically, something that I am very committed to these days is the concept of teaching. So there's a lot of content out there that is helpful for teachers. But this particular series is a very ambitious project, I must say. But this particular series does not target anyone in particular. It's really just for anyone at all, someone who is looking for an interesting perspective toward life. This probably could help at all, but it targets and compels for nothing other than the seeking of the truth. So I'm not kind of making an argument here to say this is the truth, because we are all just in a journey and we are looking for the truth. So all I can say is that this might just onboard you to my journey of seeking the truth. And obviously, at the end of it, I must say that if this is irrelevant to you, please disregard. There is no kind of intention whatsoever to harm or even patronize any kind of human being, any person at all on earth. There is no intention like that. The only intention is to kind of look for the truth and understand the truth. I think it's there. I think I've stumbled upon it. But if it's irrelevant to you, please most kindly disregard. I know you might be in the channel for other reasons. So then it's probably, if this isn't for you, don't be offended, or don't take it personally. Just disregard it, right? So, all right. So having said that, I do want to kind of, I feel like I want to introduce myself, but I'll try to keep it short. Okay. So my name is Azman Branudeen, and well, who am I? I was born in Sri Lanka, this little island nation in Asia, South Asia, right below the tip of the Indian peninsula. And I was born in this beautiful city called Kandy, which is the central city, in fact, in Peradeniya. And then, I went to school until about 11 years of age to a small school in my village, in my hometown. And then I shifted to a national school, which is a much bigger place, Kingswood, which I consider my alma mater, and which was a big force in my life, which shaped me to be who I am. And then when I was 20, I left Kandy, I left home, and I ended up in Colombo, the capital of the kind of commercial and business capital of Sri Lanka. And that's where life really rolled out on my own. I started to experience certain things, and then here I am 10 years later. All right, so that's it for now. Okay, so during these years, so many things have happened, and I've seen so many things and tried so many things. I've been very fortunate in that sense, and met so many people, and was able to kind of converse and bounce back ideas with a lot of people. So with all this, here I am. So this is the beginning of my attempt to present my case to humanity in terms of the truth. It's, as you can see, I'm going to keep it very real, and it's not really that there is no prepared speech. There is a case. Let's try to see how it works. So I want to start with a chapter from the Holy Quran, chapter number 33, verse 70. As you can see here on the screen, but let me read it out to you, the translation. O you who believe, keep your duty to Allah, which is God, and speak straight words. So I said right at the beginning that I will come back to this concept of speak a straight word. What does that exactly mean? And you notice, especially if you look at the Quran, you notice that it continuously pushes people pushes its followers, believers, and it actually brands believers as those who speak a straightforward word. So it is in that spirit I want to start this series as well, right? I want to make sure that anything and everything I say on this or even otherwise is it matches with this concept of speaking a straight word. And I don't think it's very easy today to speak a straight word, because for one thing it's very difficult to understand what straight means. But at least just to get started with, I think it relates to this concept of speaking what you truly believe in, right? What do you truly believe in? So you say that, right? It's like there is no second guessing of it. There is no really hypocrisy. You think something else but you say something else. No, there is this connection, very interesting connection of intention, thought and action, right? So you think something and then you say that and then you do that. So when you link what you think and what you say and what you do, you've got straightforwardness. So sometimes you point your finger at someone and you call them, they're very straightforward. Why? Because you know that they say something and that is what they're thinking, and they also do what they say. It's a very interesting combination, and I think it's very difficult to get to that kind of synchronization in life, to really think and then just say it and then do it. So I've found it best to say less as possible, which is not easy for me because my profession is built around speaking as a teacher and trainer and lecturer. So it's very difficult to speak less, but I would rather speak less. But here I am, again trying to start a new series. So it is in this spirit that the Quran pushes us, motivates us to speak a straightforward word. I begin this series, and the main concept that I want to present here in this episode is about the Creator, who we normally refer to as Allah, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So what is this? Who is this? Right? Why do we believe in the Creator? So there are so many questions that we can try to understand about the Creator. But for me, I think the most important fact about the Creator that I'm trying to understand and how I think about it is there is this idea that our religion promotes us to learn as much as we can from the creation. So you look at the heavens and the earth and the moon and the tides and the and the trees and the continents and the mountains. You look at human beings and you try to learn from them. So I connect with this idea a lot, because I realized after going to school and going to university and trying to do bachelor's or master's or whatever, and then you work in certain environments, and then you realize the biggest sources of knowledge, the most very, very effective sources of knowledge are those of which are right in front of us, and we don't try to use them as a source of knowledge. So in terms of pursuing the truth, what is right in front of us, creation, and how did this come to be, is kind of like the first most important question that I must ask myself. So in that spirit, there are a few things that I think would interest you. This is again in my humble opinion, that acts as a proof for me about the Creator. So one of these things is the idea that the Creator and God, the existence of God, and any kind of clashes, but this acknowledgement of God, right? It could be there have been different approaches to this, right? But somehow, either way, whether it's in agreement or in disagreement, God has always been acknowledged. and it is the oldest concept traceable in humanity. If you go back and back and back and back and back, there is always this supreme being who was there and who, did the things that the being did. So there is, like, humanity has known for as long as its existence, God existed. So that is a very interesting kind of concept. It's very difficult to, it's not easy for me to kind of express what is in my head in these terms, but I hope you get it, right? So for as long as humans have existed, we've known that the creator existed. And that brings me to the second concept of the existence of good and evil, and the bilateral nature of things. So I always, like, whenever we do things, right, whenever we have certain actions to do, various things, you want to go on a trip or a journey, you want to decide on what your educational path is going to be, you're dealing with, you have a transaction, and you're dealing with a certain person, then you're thinking, okay, how should I deal with this person? So there is always these kind of choices, and in all these choices there is always a good choice to make and a evil choice, right? And within the two scopes there are always, multiple little details that can differ as to what you can do, but there is always that clash between good versus evil. So for me, it's a proof, right? It's proof that the bilateral nature of how the world is created and how choice exists, because it really just connects to a point that is coming later. The existence of good and evil is also, for me, like, it acts as proof that yes, God exists. And I'll come to that, how and why. Because if God exists, and if God created us, and if God really ensured that there was good and evil, why? It's an important question to ask ourselves. So we'll try to address that as well. So that is that. The third one is, when I think about human beings, all I can see is that human beings, which we consider ourselves, for some reason, for some arrogance, in my opinion, we consider ourselves to be very supreme over all the other animals, all the other trees, earth, wind. We think we can manipulate and control everything the way we want. But when you really think about it, or at least in my eyes, what I see is that human beings don't really create. We can't, and we don't. The only thing we do is, the term I would use is, we modify. Right? Point number 3. Okay, we modify. What do we modify? Creation. Right? We use water to do various things. Right? We take another person's blood and infuse it. We cannot create blood. We can't. We just take it from another person and infuse it to another person to save another person's life. We have never created blood. I mean, what have we created? Nothing, right? We cut down the trees and build houses, build furniture, do all these things. We pluck the fruits and pluck the vegetables from the plants and from the trees, and we eat them, right? We hunt the animals, we kill them, we eat them, but we don't create them. So we are really, when you look at life that way, we are really so powerless, right? Because if there was no creation, then we just don't have anything to do, and we can't really do anything. So what we do is, now, say for example, even if you take something like intangible and what you don't see your normal eyes, like radio frequency waves. So we do a lot of things with radio frequency waves, like listening to radio, but it's just a manipulation of something that we don't see, and we just don't know to what extent the things that we don't see span, right? So in that sense, we are unable to create, but the only thing we can do is modify creation, and that kind of leads me to this concept of the fact that if we modify creation and if we are also creation, then there is a creator, right? You get it? So that is also like it's our powerless nature to create things is also like obvious proof for me about the existence of Allah or God. And the fourth one here is that this is a very interesting argument, not really argument, right? Just an observation that it's very closely connected to the first one as well, which is this fact that God is the oldest fully formed concept throughout the history of human existence, is that there has been consistent guidance throughout humanity. Now, I think this is a very interesting idea. Why the consistency is the matter. So according to the legends and the stories and history, what we really see is in terms of how man should be behaving. How for Earth to sustain, for the world to sustain, and for the world to be good against this force of evil, the guidance that has been provided has continuously remained consistent, right? So if we had this idea of multiple beings or multiple, I don't know, gods or multiple supremacy over human beings, or if there was none, right? If man ruled man, then I don't believe that there would be that consistency. So the fact that the guidance was provided because God created, then he didn't just let creation be, he guided creation by the form of books and gospels and prophets especially. And this guidance was consistent. So the consistency kind of speaks to the idea that it's coming from one place, right? It's the same person, it's the same being, right? And it's the creator. The creator created and provided consistent guidance. That is one idea that kind of is access proof for me about our creator. This fourth one, right? No, the fifth one is also very interesting. The idea of fate. So this, some people call it the concept of will, that your fate is pre-written, and it's all preordained. Yeah, there are different words to it in different cultures and different historians. Some people use the word karma, etc., etc. But the existence of fate and the fact that ultimately there are always going to be things that we have no choice over. Like one very close to heart and very recently touched upon idea on this matter is we have no control over the country we are born. So you're born into a certain country, either you're in the Asian continent or the Middle Eastern continent or in Europe or the Americas. Wherever you are, you had no say in it. You had no say in who your parents were going to be, right? And that determines a lot of things. That determines the rest of your life. So that itself kind of says that there is a kind of larger plan here, and that the fact that we don't have any control over where we are born, that simple matter itself is like, yeah, all right, sure, there is a certain kind of plan that is operating. And how that the concept, the story of plan is fully formed is because of the existence of death. Sixth one, right? So we have no control over how we are born, to whom we are born, where we are born, none of that. And we have no control over death. This is the one thing that solidifies the argument that I was earlier making, that we don't create but we just modify, but also that we will meet our maker someday. Maybe tomorrow, maybe now, maybe 10 years down the line, but this is going to happen. This is the inevitability, which means that the maker made sure, no matter how arrogant we are, no matter how powerful we think we are, no matter how many things we collect, how much of wealth we try to assume to ourselves, how many different things that we try to hoard within among ourselves, we are not going to be able to take any of that. We are so powerless in the face of death, and nobody has any kind of idea what's going on after that. All right. So that kind of is full circle of fate, birth to death. Sure, like it's so funny when you think about it, because the irony is God did something very interesting, which is connected to the second point there, existence of good versus evil. How the test was created was, we have two things, birth and death, which we have absolutely no control over, but within these 2 points of time we were given free will, right? The point before the last that I'm trying to present here is that human beings have free will. So between those 2 points, right, in certain cases we truly believe that we can choose what to do, where to go, how to be. So maybe you weren't born in a certain country, but you can try to migrate. You can decide to migrate. You have a choice. You can choose where to go to school for. You can choose what kind of educational stream you're trying to pursue. You can choose what kind of things you want to say, what kind of speech you want to make, what kind of career you want to pursue, what kind of education you want to accumulate. You can choose these things. So it's so funny, and I truly believe that in the maker's mercy, that he does have a light side to him, that he would decide our fate using birth and death, and provide in between the choice of free will. You choose. All right, I'll see what you choose, how you choose. I know, but you should know, right? You don't know, we'll see. That kind of very, very ironical move there. So this also is, for me, in my personal opinion, when I look at creation and when I look at a human being's life, my own life, how that happened, because I never asked for my parents. I never really asked to be born in Sri Lanka. That choice wasn't there. But then I was born, and then I had to live my life, and then here I am. Even starting this series was my choice. I chose to do it. Nobody compelled me. Nobody really wants me to do. I doubt there's there's any kind of force there. I was thinking about this idea for a long time, and here I am. So it really is interesting, because even when you think about your own life, most of the things you do is you have a choice, and it's like that the maker is observing, okay, in giving us that choice. He is all time observing of what we are doing with this choice, what we are going to do, what are we doing with the free will that we have been blessed with. And finally, because of certain limitations I want to put on myself, the final point is something very close to the metaphysics of creation, is the mind being the most elusive yet the most powerful tool man possesses, right? So why I say elusive is because nobody can really pinpoint, even as something as simple as that, like nobody can really pinpoint to say your mind is here. You're doing all your thinking from your head, or you're doing your thinking from your heart, right? Or are you doing your thinking from your finger? Nobody knows, right? We definitely know that uh, there's an anatomy, but it is very, very elusive. But it is also the most powerful thing. We all the time we hear people, Stephen Hawking, right? Who has had a paralyzed body, but he sharpened his mind to a different extent that he was able to understand certain things and explore relativity and talk about black holes and things like that, right? To see a vast something that the idea is that your perception is how wide your perception is, right? How far do you see? So when you can think about the universe in your mind's eye, you can think about the universe in that very wide sense, got a very wide world view or universal view. So we hear all the time of paralyzed or disabled people who are major hikers, major swimmers, or rather, divers, etc., etc. So you see and you hear all these different things, and you talk to them, and everything that they say is that their mind directs them toward. So our mind, what we think, what we kind of embody, and what we end up doing. What we believe is what drives us towards certain things, right? If we watch news and the news is saying certain things, let's say something like Islamophobia, right? If the news is promoting it in certain ways, right? You look at you watch 100 movies, and in all the 100 movies, the villains are Muslims. So you think, all right, so you start believing it, right? And you think, all right, so Muslims are villains, Muslims are bad people. You believe that. And if you believe that, how do you believe? You believe it in your mind. And then you believe that, you react and act in a certain way. So it is the most powerful, and as a result, the most dangerous tool, that is very closely connected to the idea of free will as well. All of these things that human beings have no real control over, that the maker has given to us, is kind of, for me, when I look at my own life, these are just a few factors that point me toward the idea of the existence of my creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who I prostrate to and who I worship. So it's important for me that here I discussed in the first episode of Seeking the Truth. What I'm basically saying is that there is okay, so if you look at the Arabic verse of it, it says La ilaha illallah, which is just one line, and it says there is no God but Allah. That is the concept. That is the ultimate truth. And for me, without reasoning, it's very difficult for me to accept certain things. Like it's the issue, why I call it Seeking the Truth is because there were certain corporate jobs that I did in my life, and then you go into meetings or you talk to people, and initially when you were interviewed, you hear certain things, and the recruiter is saying, all right, this is what we do here, and then you go to work, you realize that what they pitched and what they do are completely different. And even if you try to drive your work toward what you truly believe is good and right, and what you were initially told, because the pitch is always very rosy and very rainbowy, it's very difficult, right? I used to work in a company, a very large conglomerate, and every day when I walk in front of the like right at the stairs or right at the entrance, company's vision statement is there, right? With the vision and the mission statement, it's there, and every day I read it. It's the same thing, just a bunch of words. Ultimately, that's what it turned out to be. Every day I read it, and then I get into the elevator, and through through my journey in the elevator, I think about it. Think about this vision and the mission, and I think, oh, all right, so if this is what the company stands for, this is probably what we should stand by and try to do. All right. And then you realize down the line you're working. There is really no criticism, but just an observation that what the vision and the mission is and what they really end up doing are very different. So this is one reason I brought it up in one of my MBA sessions as well. Now, if you take a company like Coca-Cola, all right, just take their annual reports and go back and trace their vision statements. Every couple of decades, they change their vision. Okay, and they had a vision and a mission to say that they want to be the farthest reaching. They wanted to be a company where every person on earth had a Coca-Cola bottle in at their hands, arm's length, right? That was a very dire need for them. They pursued it aggressively, building probably the most sophisticated supply chain in the world. And you really have a Coke right at your arm's length today. But what did it do? It ended up making them one of the biggest polluters in the world. Something that you can't really take back, you know. So when you really think of that kind of thing, you really start questioning what is truth, right? Is truth something that changes? Does it change? Does your truth change every 20 years? Does your truth change from when you think it to when you say it and when you do it? So this is why I'm trying to so when I think about my life and why I've made certain changes throughout, you know, I've been always very uncomfortable, and for me to kind of settle down and to calm down, it took a long time, and I think I'm a little close to that now. Why is that? Because of this mismatch, right, between what is thought and what is said and what is done. And when you come across that, even yourself, even you do it, and even if you have to do it, it's very uncomfortable. Yeah? I don't want to, you know, really be. Why should we be uncomfortable in life? We should be comfortable to the best possible extent in the standard we live in. I come from a middle-income family. I had a very happy childhood, very stressful one, but happy one. And that's the thing, you know. So there was, I guess, what happened was when I was young and when I was small, these things easily matched. Like a kid, you know, a small kid. If a kid is sad, they're thinking they're sad, and then they are saying it out loud, and they're probably crying and acting out because they're sad. So there's a match, and then you grow up slowly, little by little. These corruptions enter, and then there's this mismatch happens. So I feel like, especially given the concept that in our faith, right, what I said here, that we need to exhort one another to truth, okay, that we need to try and work together to figure out what exactly is real, what exactly is true, and then work together and in harmony move toward a certain direction in unity. In that sense, I believe the first and foremost, the most important truth in life, at least for me, in my perspective, is the idea of the creator, basically La ilaha illallah. So that is the first episode. I hope with these things you also are kind of motivated to look at creation, because creation is the best source of knowledge. To look at creation and to think about certain things and why certain things happen a certain way. Really question what exactly is truth, why is the truth important. And let me tell you something, if you figure out this truth, you know, for yourself, and I'm not like you have to figure it out, right? It's your life, your perception. when you figure it out, start feeling comfortable with life wherever you are, whatever standard you are. All these motivational stuff and all these things, they start becoming blurry and unnecessary, and you start seeing the world in a very nice way. There is no animosity that you feel inside. So I wish that for myself, I wish that for everyone. So on that note, always, ladies and gentlemen, brother, sister, keep seeking the truth. I hope this will be a good start. Well, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Let's keep seeking for the truth, like exhort one another to the truth. May God bless you, and may peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much.